Hi, I'm Wanhee and I made every mistake you can imagine when going from this to this. This video is for my younger self and for anyone else who wants to get in shape in 2026. If you follow these tips, I'm sure you'll get to your body goals faster than you ever thought possible. Let's get into it. When you clicked on this video, you probably thought, hey, so how do I actually get in shape? How do I look good? How do I get the visible abs, the V-taper, the big shoulders and arms and all that kind of stuff that I want? There is no secret. You're gonna have to hit the gym or do some kind of bodyweight training. For 90% of people that just want the most effective, fastest way, you gotta hit the gym because of two reasons. Number one, calisthenics. You gotta get to weighted calisthenics anyways, and it's a steeper learning curve. There are more things to actually understand, fix, in my experience, like building up to different exercises. In order to really challenge your body for growth with calisthenics, you're gonna have to either add weight or build up to really hard exercises like one-arm push-ups, one-arm chin-ups, one-legged squats. If you just want a simpler, easier way and a separate space for you to actually work on your body, then signing up to a gym is probably the best investment you can make. And when you do go, just do it twice or 3 times a week. That's the bare minimum. If you want to do once a week, do that. That's fine. Just build up. Every single week you do it once, then twice, then build up to 3 times. That's how you train and build consistency. Now, if you want an actual routine, that break this down into a step-by-step formula so you can build that V-taper body, visible abs, broad shoulders, then check out Aesthetic Body Blueprint. That's my 3 times a week routine that is absolutely minimal, super simple, so you can actually stay consistent with it. But whatever you do, whether you choose my routine or some other routine, you gotta be hitting the gym or doing some kind of weight/resistance training to build muscle. Next, let's get onto the diet. One of the things I realized when I went to military reserves training is that if you don't control what you eat, you'll always be controlled by the environment. If you don't know how to cook your own food, you're always going to eat stuff that's been cooked by other people. What is the one thing you can do that's super underrated for fixing your diet is just learning how to cook. Before you tell me I hate cooking, it's so difficult, you only have to learn a few dishes when it comes to healthy meals for changing your body. And if you are somebody that eats meat, I would highly encourage you to just practice cooking steak and eggs. Now, I know there are people out there, my friend included, that don't even know how to cook eggs. There's many ways to cook eggs: fried eggs, poached eggs, boiled eggs, scrambled eggs. Just practice them. Watch some videos. Maybe you like it French style, American style. Eggs are super nutritious, high in protein. They're very good ways to take your hunger away when you have that little hunger spike. Steak is actually a little bit more difficult to cook, but it's one of the easier ones to learn. You just got to learn how to sear the thing, baste the thing, and you don't even have to use a ton of butter, right? You just have to know how to season it and cook it to your liking. Those 2 things alone will massively enhance your ability to take healthy food and eat high protein meals without going out and eating at expensive restaurants all the time, or without just resorting to average food like they were giving me in the military. Take control of the food that goes inside you. Next, develop healthy addictions. Addictions are things that you resort to because you're stressed and you try to avoid the present moment. Obviously, if you just scroll because you're anxious and you procrastinate and you eat ice cream or you watch Netflix and you go for a smoke and you do all these things as a way to run away from the present moment or the feelings that you have right now, and you do it compulsively over and over again, that's what I personally would categorize as an addiction. And by that definition, reading could be an addiction, and jiu-jitsu could be an addiction, and gym could be an addiction. What is a better addiction to have? Ballet, jiu-jitsu, and bouldering, or porn, doom scrolling, and smoking? You get to actually choose your addictions. And I know this because I used to have other addictions that were unhealthy. I used to smoke a lot, drink a lot, resort to stress eating and binge eating a lot. Now, my form of addiction, the things I find myself turning to when I feel stressed and want to kind of turn my mind away, is jiu-jitsu videos, chess. For instance, I used to play a lot of chess as a way to just kind of procrastinate and run away from my problems. Just playing chess and watching jiu-jitsu videos is probably a healthier addiction than smoking and binge eating. A lot of the times it's the things that we are doing that are harming our body. And a way to get rid of that is to replace it with healthy addictions. If you can pick up a sport or martial art or even a mental game, right, like chess, these are already healthier addictions. That's going to help you stay in shape. Next is your ability to say no and set boundaries. This is probably one of the most underrated skills in the entire fitness space. We like to talk about protein, consistency, strength building, progressive overload, healthy diets, but we don't actually talk about how important it is to develop this ability to say no. This is a thing that you need to train just like a muscle. And I have a perfect story that will illustrate this, I always struggled with saying no. I would say yes to everything that came up, whether it was a friend or a family suggesting to do something, because I didn't want conflict. I just wanted to get along with people. And I've been working on this and thinking, you know what, if I just do what other people want, then I'll never be able to lead a life that I want. And whenever I live the life that other people want, I don't feel good. I realized I need to get better at saying no and setting boundaries. And I was in this taxi one day on like a 30-minute journey, and the taxi driver had some radio going on that was a little bit too loud. And I remember sitting there thinking, I want to go in silence so I can do some work in the taxi. Maybe I shouldn't tell him to turn the radio down because he's probably had a hard day. It's probably going to cause a little scene, and I'll just do the work in the noise. And then I caught myself saying this and thought, why am I avoiding this conflict? Why am I afraid of saying no? Why am I afraid of saying what I want when I've paid for the journey, so I have every right to tell the taxi driver to turn the thing off? So I caught myself thinking like that, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna say it. So I told him, hey, could you turn the radio down? I have some work to do, please. And he was like, yeah. It was absolutely no issue. And since then, every time I go into a taxi and the radio's too loud, even if I don't have huge work to do, I just ask. It's like my practice ground. I practice asking or just stating my boundary in a way, because the key to practicing is you got to do it in a situation where there's a little bit of discomfort and anxiety. You think the whole world is going to burn down, right? The taxi driver is going to be like, what do you mean it's my right to listen to the radio? And you're going to have this huge scene and everyone's going to hate you. Like, people who have issues setting boundaries, you play these scenarios in your head. But when you do it and the taxi driver literally every time is like, oh yeah, cool, boom, he turns it off, you realize, oh, it's a safe place. I can say what I want and, you know, everything's fine. So you develop that muscle and you get better and better at saying no. If people are like, let's meet here, let's do this, let's do that, and it coincides with my calendar, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I've actually gotten really, really good at saying no, that it's very hard for me to do something that I haven't planned myself. I don't know if that's good or bad, so I've kind of swung the other way, but that has helped me more than just about anything when it comes to getting in shape, because it means I can stick to my plan of training. It means I can stick to my plan of eating what I want, when I want, how I want. And whether it's my grandma or my parents or my friends on whatever time demanding, drink this, eat this, I have got to a stage where it's so natural for me to just, I'm not going to drink beer today. I'm not going to drink wine. It's easy. Practice it, practice it, practice it. It's the one meta skill that's going to impact not just your shape, but your entire life. Next is use what I call the blue frog method. In Korea, we call a blue frog somebody who does the opposite of conventional wisdom. If everybody's going left, you go right. This isn't just doing something for the sake of drawing attention. By the time you're seeing this video, which is probably February, a lot of people will have fallen off their goals. And the reason for this is their New Year's goals are set in a moment of heightened optimism where it's socially and culturally expected to be overly optimistic and unrealistic. So what do you say? I'm gonna go on a run. I'm gonna hit the gym 3 times a week. I'm gonna read a book a day. You set up all these big things and commitments, and after a week or two, when reality sets in, you look at it, you're like, oh my god, I didn't stick to any of it. I'm such an idiot. I'm so useless. I don't even want to do any of it. And then you just let those things go. And this cycle repeats every year. The blue frog method, you do the exact opposite of what everyone does. First of all, you don't set goals in that time. You do it before the New Year's or after. So by the time you're seeing this video, if you want to start again, just set the goal now when the optimism is gone. And in fact, a lot of people are starting to fall off track. And when you set the goal, again, do the opposite. When people are setting these big goals, like I'm gonna go on a run every day, I'm gonna walk every day, I'm gonna train and read, all this, just do the bare minimum. Set a goal that seems almost stupidly small and easy, that you know for sure you can stick to. So let me give you an example. Instead of saying I'm gonna go to the gym and go on a run every day or 3 times a week or 5 times a week, whatever it is, just say I'm gonna go on a walk once a week. That's crazy. That's so easy. Even if you're the laziest guy, the thought of going on a walk once a week will probably sound just too easy, because you probably have to go on a walk to buy your groceries anyway. What is the psychological effect of setting a goal so small? First of all, you achieve it, so you actually feel good. Second of all, you realize, damn, I can actually do this for the long term. So it becomes part of your life. And third of all, you eventually go, you know what? I can do this every day or twice a week or 3 times a week. You start to amp it up because you've built momentum and you start to build confidence in yourself about executing that with consistency. This is the exact method that I use to be super consistent with YouTube for the past 3.5 years, just posting once a week. I never even tried to go more than that because I knew, okay, bare minimum, just stick to it. That's how I've been consistent. Gym 3 times a week, jiu-jitsu 3 times a week. So many times I wanted to do more. I wanted to set those crazy goals, but I held myself back, and that's how I've been able to be consistent over the long term. I'm not saying set your goals small and just stick to it and go on a walk once a week for the rest of your life. I'm saying do that right now, so that you build confidence in execution, and then you can always add. It's like salt, you can always add more, but you cannot take it away. Next, let's say you set those goals. What do you do to actually make this real? You have to make a routine, and the routine is a calendar. You have to set your calendar up. Now, again, what people do when they first set up their calendar is they set this idealized version. Shower in the morning, deep work, then meditate, then walk, then train, then eat lunch, then deep work. So many blocks and things that are micromanaged. Again, after a week or two, you look at it, you're like, I've stuck to none of it. Every time I look at the calendar, I'm reminded of how I wanted to live and how useless I am at sticking to it. You know what? The calendar doesn't work. Screw it. I don't even want to look at it. And your calendar dies. You don't have a schedule, and you just go day to day doing whatever. Does that ring a bell? That's been my life for the better part of 10 years. The way, again, to make your calendar work is to do the bare minimum on the calendar. So only have sleep and your training, whether it's gym, jiu-jitsu, whatever you do. Put the training down, put the sleep down, put when you eat down, and nothing else. Start with that. Just sleep, move, and eat is all you have, and that's the structure you need in your day. Then let's say you have something that comes up and you're like, okay, well, it's my friend's wedding, it's my mother's birthday. You can put those in, or maybe you do certain work, you can put those blocks in if you find that you can actually stick to it. Oh, this time's good for me, this time's good for me. You can add those in, but again, start with the absolute bare minimum. What happens when you put those blocks in there? You actually execute it. When you look at the calendar, you realize you're sticking to your calendar, so you have more respect for your calendar. So when people say, hey, do you want to do this? And it's 11 a.m. and it's your gym time, you'll say no. That's what happens with me. I now respect my calendar because I've stuck to it. So you got to build this bare bones routine in the form of a calendar to make those goals you set in the first part of this video real. Next, we live in a world where everybody's looking for the next Bitcoin, right? Everybody's looking for these 10x, 100x jumps. And when you actually look at these investments, they're growing at 5%, 8%, 20% would be absolutely crazy. Maybe let's say it doubles. Okay, great. You had $100, now you have 200. You had $1 million, now you have 2 million. Great. Okay, that's all good. But what about you? What if you're just that same guy that has the problem? Your physique, you're not happy with it. You got fat, you got health issues, you got anxiety, you get panic attacks, you're not happy with your relationships or the way you feel when you walk out the door. That guy is still always with you, whether you have a crazy investment portfolio or a 500% increase in your stocks. So investing in assets that are outside of you, people obsess about this because that's the world we live in. But the person that gets to enjoy all of those assets, the person that is always with you everywhere you go, whatever you do, is your body, is you. So it makes so much more sense to invest in yourself such that you become more confident, you become a better enjoyer of the world. And there's nothing better to do that than in investing in your own health and fitness and the way you look. Now, if you want to invest in your own health, your own body, how you look, so you become the most confident, aesthetic, and healthy version of yourself, then you can apply to join my coaching program below, where I'll do this entire process with you, map out the year, map out a custom training plan, find out exactly what to do in the diet so that you can build muscle, lose fat, and stay consistent and get the body that you want. That's what we do in my coaching program. Hit the second link in the description. And with that said, I hope this video helped you. See you in the next one.